G'day guys, welcome back to another Fair Income episode. In today's episode we had a lads chat, just the four of us on the couch, chatting about why there are so many males but not men in today's society. We broke down how our upbringing can affect the men who we are today. And we also spoke about we touched on some characteristics that make up a man. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, and enjoy the episode. Peace.
How do you put it? Where you're not, like, you are playful, but then you're not too playful where it's like...
It's opposite gender again?
No, I'm saying in general.
Yeah.
Like, it's
because playful, that's why I'm like, flirtatious.
Interactions with people in general, like all types of generations, because you obviously have to alter the way you are with certain generations, the way you speak to them, the way you approach them, and your mannerisms and that.
I have a question. Does that make, or like this is me just being like devil's advocate here, but wouldn't that make respect something that's transactional? Like, wouldn't it put it in a situation where that I give respect, but I only give respect to receive it? But anyways, we're going back to it. Like, we look at for example what Ali's mate had just developed on. A lot of the boys we know, or a lot of people we know, are very scared to stand up for what they believe in. You know, we can develop on it as just like a thing where you watch your brothers at university, for example, and they don't, like, they'll for example, like, you come to meet a new person who's a non-Muslim, and this is, I think we've all fallen into it, you know. You meet a person at university, whatever it is, you're in group, you get stuck in a group assignment with a non-Muslim girl. She comes to shake your hand. Hi, my name is, and then here it comes, the crossroads.
You're hugging her.
It's like
Why is she putting her head down though?
They come to meet you, you know. Hi, my name is Patricia.
For sure,
And then you
Patricia.
in your head, I think we've all dealt with that.
Yeah.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at the hand for about what feels like a million years, but it only goes for like one or 2 seconds.
Handy.
And then what's your first impulse? Shake the hand, move on with your life.
Yeah.
Get to,
because it happens in half a second as well. So, like, you don't even have time to think. Sometimes it's just like instincts, because you're so used to shaking guys' hands in general, that you do it. It's like, oh, what did I just do? And it's too late.
It's more normal to do that. Yeah. And it's crazy because I seen someone tweeting about this. Yeah, it goes, "Oh, I'll never shake the hand of a man," you know. And me myself, I've become normalized to the idea that like you can have that like physical, like, touch with the opposite gender. You know what I mean? When our values are actually of the opposite. Do you get what I mean? So we've become normalized.
Because your point was talking about like why there's so many males but no men, and you literally said like one of the characteristics that your mate was talking about what it means to be a man is to pretty much stand for something and don't go astray. And like we're talking about now as Muslims, sometimes like you have those unique experiences where you go in a group chat or you go in a group project and the sister comes up to you, or the non-Muslim, hey, my name is X, and she puts out her hand. And it's that awkward conversation or awkward moment. It's like, what do I do? You know, do I really stand for, or do I try to comply so it's not awkward?
Yeah.
And that's the first test there. And there's so many other tests that we all experience, and it's like in this moment, it's tests every single day, and it's like, do we stand for our religion or stand for our morals, or do we try to look for shortcuts so we don't make it awkward?
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, okay, boom, that's the big test.
You notice that the easier thing is always the wrong thing?
Wow. Yeah, without a doubt, 100%.
Like, shake the hand, move on. Yeah, that's what everyone's telling you. Like, oh, just don't make it uncomfortable. But then say you don't shake the hand and you explain why. Yeah. You go, these are my values, these are my morals, these are what I believe in. And I think society's kind of like moved in a direction where they have to take whatever we say on the chin now. And just accept it for what it is, you know? And but like a lot of the times we just go, oh yeah, but then we don't realize that makes it harder for the next man. Yeah, the next brother that comes around that doesn't shake the hand of the female.
That's an awkward convo you set up.
Yeah, but I know I'm Muslim.
Yeah.
He shook my hand.
He looked just like you.
It stuffs you over.
You know what I mean?
As soon as you tell them in this scenarios, most of the time they respect you more.
100%.
You stand for something, which is beautiful. Second thing is, if you don't and they find out you're Muslim and they know, they're like, oh, aren't you Muslim? Why'd you shake my hand? I wasn't supposed to. They're like, oh, like, you know what I mean? He's one of, like, heck. Even though you could be, mashallah, a gun, you just didn't want it to be awkward, they kind of lose respect for you because they know that's important to you. And it's like, okay, so...
Yeah, and even beyond the respecting, bro, it's like, you kind of like, you lose respect for yourself in those moments. I don't know if you've ever experienced that situation before, where you kind of just get coerced into doing the wrong thing, and then you look at yourself and you go, bro, where's your backbone, man? Like, why did I allow myself to get sucked into something like that? Like, is there something wrong with me that I need to prove that I'm normal? Or is there a reason why I'm basically bending over backwards to kind of make other people feel okay? And then when you leave the situation, you have to struggle with the afterthoughts about what just happened. You know, I know we're making it a big deal. People are going to watch this, probably who are non-Muslim, and go, oh, but it's just a handshake, bro, relax. No, like to us.
It's an easy example to give.
Even the handshakes, like we can move past that and just talk about values that you say. Like, for example, you say, I want to be trustworthy. And then every single time it matters, but then that one time where you want to get out of getting in trouble at work, you lie. And then it's like, okay, boom. So when do you say you stand by your morals, your values, your ethics, but then only really when it's comfortable for you. And the real test of character is in those tough times. And I get that a lot. It's like, for example, I work all with non-Muslims. And it's like kind of things like Jummah. The other Muslim might go, oh, I just miss Jummah. And it's like, I'm in that awkward experience. I'm in that. But a lot of the times it's like, it's awkward at first, and then they respect you. You know, you just have to stay consistent there. Yeah, because it's not like I take a week off here for Jummah or whatever the thing is. You know,
because we can overcomplicate it as well. Like certain scenarios. Let's just use yours for example, with like your relationship with your boss. Like, what's he gonna think of me? Or this is gonna be a bit awkward. It's not gonna be the same, and you just start overcomplicating it all. And it's like sometimes not that deep. So it's like you just have to like take the leap of faith and just like stick with what you believe in.
Like, sorry, bro. I was gonna say, like, look at Doncic says, bro. Everyone's a big man when they're up.
Facts.
You know, on this topic, we can touch on also like people talk about truth, being honest, truthful. Everyone says a man, has to be honest at all times and stuff like that. And that's where like I was listening to obviously this topic, and let's talk about the story of Abu Sufyan. So Abu Sufyan, pretty much pre-Islam, hated the Prophet. They went to war, most of the wars he was fighting against the Prophet. When he was one of the people that pushed for, the treaty to kick the Prophet out. And, when 3 years and they were kind of like, what was it called? 3 years when they were like, no food.
What day be?
No, 3 years when
I
they
don't know the name of
okay, just the Prophet they were pretty much like mistreated in Mecca. And that's kind of forced them to leave to Medina. And then Abu Sufyan was in like Damascus, was on a journey, and Heraclius was there. Okay.
Oh, this is a crazy story.
Yeah.
Well, say it again. Who?
Heraclius, the ruler of the Roman Empire.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so he's there.
The most
powerful man in the world. Really.
Yeah.
The Roman Empire at the time.
It was a superpower.
Yeah. Okay. Better.
There's two superpowers: the Persians and the Romans.
Yeah.
And then
Byzantine Empire. That's what it's called at the time.
Byzantine. Yeah.
Byzantine. And then, so at the time, Prophet started sending a letter to different people. Okay.
Yep.
So and then the Roman Emperor gets this and is like, what's this? Call one of the people that know him from his tribe. Damn, Abu Sufyan's there, who's pretty much the leader of the Quraysh, or one of the leaders, Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab bin him. He's like, okay, let me find out who this person is. He goes, who's this Muhammad? He sent me a letter. He said, Prophet of God. Never heard of him. Because obviously like a veteran. And Abu Sufyan's there. He hates the Prophet. If you could kill him now, he would.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's a real test of character. Imagine someone goes, tell me about someone you hate. He's the worst person ever. I hate him. I want to kill him. Abu Sufyan in that moment only praised the Prophet. When he speaks the truth. His people love him. He's the best to his parents. He's the best to his wife. He's the best to his village. He's the best to his community. And then he said the only reason in that moment I was being honest is because the people that were with me, I didn't want them to think I was a liar. Because they know I couldn't lie. This is a non-Muslim talking about his enemy. Yeah. And then when I talk about my friends in Islam, I aerate about them, I talk bad about them. It's like, you lie, you look for shortcuts. Like Abu Sufyan, a non-Muslim, talking about his enemy to one of the most powerful men in the world, and only thing he did is speak the truth. Yeah, because he was a man, he was a rajal. And what do? 100%. Whenever you look for shortcuts, we go for it.
You look for the faults of others just to for personal benefit.
Yeah, you got to speak the truth even if it's against yourself. You also hear that story of like Ali radiallahu anhu when he was having an argument with the person who stole his armor, and then he got taken to court for it. He took him to he took him through his own justice system process. When he was at the time, he was the Amir al-Mu'mineen, and then Ali ended up going to court with the with the guy who stole his armor. He quite obviously knows what his armor is, and then the guy ended up saying, "No, I didn't steal it. Like it's not yours. I got it rightfully, whatever it is." And then the court ruled in favor of the other guy, and then Ali goes, you know what, khalas, I was wrong. You know, and in those moments there, I believe that is another important topic. Is even if you feel like you're in the right, you know, but because we all have biased opinions of ourselves, you know. Everyone believes they're right. Everybody always believes they're right. But when you're wrong, you put your hand up and say, my bad. If you can do that, especially in the heat of the moment,
so tough, man.
That's what I reckon. I feel like that's the biggest testament to like being a man.
Okay, I want to. Sorry, boys. I want to kind of like control this convo just so it doesn't. Yeah, Allah, man, what's happening here? Better. Okay, khalas. So, yeah, I wanted to kind of like just control the convo just so we kind of get that flow. We want to touch on obviously those characteristics that make someone a man, because we're all gonna have different perspectives, because we have different upbringing, stuff like that. But before that, I wanted to touch on like pretty much the title of the episode, why there's so many males but no men. So maybe it can be that like because we didn't have male role models growing up, maybe TV shows affected our view of what it means to be a man. I want to touch on that kind of topic first, like maybe, you know, and then we can touch on what it means to be a man. So is there like a reason why you think this, none of us, but our community, there's not a lot of men in our community? There's a lot of males, but not a lot of like...
We were all raised by pop culture, if I'm being honest. At least our generation
had a high influence by pop culture. Yeah,
I think when you see or when you hear about the people who are older than us or the generation before us, like the boys that my older brother used to hang out with, and then you've also got the you know, the first generation Lebos from my community, not Lebos but men from our
Arabs,
community. You can always see them. They were all moving in the direction that pop culture took them, and they were unconscious because
Tupac was their man.
Exactly.
Pretty much. It's like,
Exactly.
I want to be like Tupac.
That
was
you
their
got
role model.
Scarface at the time. You also have
Biggie.
Yeah, Biggie not so much because no one wants to be fat. But
what's the Biggie fan in the comments?
Yeah,
I'm joking. He's quality. No, he's not quality. Screw him. Anyways, what I'm alluding to is we had this idea that men were basically defined by cosmetic qualities. You know, you have your base level of a man, which is gets a lot of girls, or he can get girls when he wants to. You know, he speaks out against everything, and you know he's what he does. Like he's a thug. You know, he can back himself in an argument. He stands up for himself, or he can fight. You know, or he's connected, or whatever it is. And then you've also got the you know, the ability to kind of like little man somebody, you know, make somebody feel like they're lower than him. So if they're like in an argument one-on-one or whatever it is, or they see somebody else, they always feel the need to kind of like belittle the other person. And you kind of like, no one can get a one up on him, basically, whether it's even psychologically, bro. Like, you know, we always like, for example, Peaky Blinders recently. Yeah. Like,
you watch it?
Yeah, I watch it.
Yeah.
Fast forward all the bad scenes.
Alhamdulillah.
But what a man.
That's just, I don't promote none of it. Anyway, in it, you see there's Tommy Shelby. And Tommy Shelby is a master strategist.
He's a Rajal, man.
Huh?
Yeah, he's a...
That's what we think. Yeah? 100%.
Yeah.
Does what he wants, when he wants, how he wants it. He has the respect of everybody around him.
For sure.
And then you look at him properly and you kind of take it from the out. Like, wait a second. How much of a man really is he? You know?
Yeah.
You go, like, this bloke does or tries to get the job done by any means necessary. You know?
He has no morals.
He psychologically manipulates the people around him. He what does he do to gain power and money? He does anything that he needs to, you know. Like there's no justice.
He has no backbone.
He's
either.
against his word. Yeah. And also, Scarface back in the day, what did he say? I have two things, and I don't break them for nobody: my balls and what's it called, and my word.
Yeah.
At least he had that.
Yeah,
tougher man.
Yeah. And everyone go, he went out a legend, and all these rappers are talking about him, and you're like, fire out, man. You're just like, what were we lied to, bro? Like,
what are we
so it goes back to the whole thing. Is like our role models are probably like the wrong people. The question is then, why do people look up to them? You know what I mean? I guess maybe because there's a lack of role models within our society, maybe. Like, especially like first generation, like, I don't know, Somalis, Lebos and all that kind of stuff, you know. If you're looking up to the older generation and they're all running around what do you call it, low-key acting like thugs, and to you that seems like, damn, like this person. You know, that whole concept of like, I don't know if you guys got like, when your older uncles and stuff, you know, when you were younger, you look at them and you go, damn, like Allah Mubarak, like when I get older, I'm gonna try to be like them, or your older brothers and that, yeah? And then after, but you don't understand there's a million and one things going on in their world. You know what I mean? They're fighting with demons on the side that it's like unspoken, you know? There's qualities and stuff that they're sacrificing that's against their like sort of own will, you know?
Like what do you mean? Can you give me an example?
Like, for example, like let's say even mental health type of thing. You look up, you think this person, Allah Mubarak, is cool, he's gone to the gym, he's strong, all that kind of stuff, all the things that appeal to the eye, you know what I mean? But deep down, he's got like monetary issues. You know what I mean? He's struggling to support his family and stuff.
But you don't know that because you're so young.
Exactly, and plus you only see the good things and you're inspired by those good things. But also you got double-edged sword, yeah? You look at the thugs and all that kind of stuff who appear to be cool with their chains and their women and all that kind of stuff. But in reality, like when their mum asks for them to get something from the grocery on the way home after a long night out, talking garbage at a shisha lounge, they're too busy to do that.
Bro, there's videos on social media that have exposed people like that. They rent like, what is it? Like they pretend like they're in a private jet and stuff like that. Have you seen the videos like that? Or they rent like cars and that just for videos. But then all these, like you said, all these young kids actually believe it. It's like this is the lifestyle they live, and that's what I want.
And I have to follow the same path. I wanted to touch on what you said before, because you asked about why we take these people as role models from the TV shows, from the movies. I think it's the time spent with them. So, for example, there might be role models in the community that you see on a Saturday or at Jummah, but you see them once. But we spend so much time, like I know me as a kid, you finish school, so you go to school, you finish 3:30, you chill for a bit, and then I'll spend like 3 hours watching TV. So because of that, and then I know like later on I was spending 5-6 hours watching like every single TV show. So because of the time I spent, they were the only people I knew. And I was not tight with, but the only people that I kind of build the connections, like, okay, I want to be like that. And that's why when we were talking before about Abu Taymiyyah, he started talking about TikTok. He pretty much said, you know, we say you are who your friends are. And you're the 5 people closest to you, you're pretty much the same financially, socially, emotionally, and stuff like that. He goes, that works, but not as much anymore. It's more about TikTok content that they watch. Because you see your friends on the weekend, but every single day you spend 8 hours a day on TikTok. And that's really what's affecting your mind when you're a kid, when you're a sponge. So me, for example, my dad could have been a good role model, and he probably was, but I'd chat to him half an hour, and I'd spend 4 hours on the TV watching Harvey Specter be a boss.
Exactly.
Like, I want to be like that guy. He's got the car, he's got the this. My dad's like, go clean the dishes. The other guy's like, you know, I schooled you.
Yeah, being that type of thing. And nowadays as well, like with the rise of like YouTube and stuff and all that kind of stuff, where, bro, people spend like, you know how like you think, okay, cool, it's about the 5 most people you spend time with and all that kind of stuff, yeah? Some people don't even go out anymore. They literally stay in their home and at the comfort of their phone, on their YouTube and all that kind of stuff. They've got Emma Chamberlain playing. Bro, Emma Chamberlain's content is for 20 minutes and her talking about nothing in her day, just going around. She does her makeup, she does this and all that kind of stuff. She's probably one of the biggest female YouTubers. Wallah. And all she does is, her whole concept is built off of doing nothing. You know what I mean? So
like
people,
Seinfeld.
Yeah, literally like Seinfeld, basically. People watch that. She gets like 5 million views of her making breakfast in the morning doing nothing. You know, it's her, and they look her as like a role model because she's only showing that like sort of decent side of her life, you know? And then it goes back to the whole thing is you might not have that like social connection with that person, but you got that digital connection. And that's where they get sort of their influence from.
So we'll go back to it, like what's some other reasons you think why we, you know, there's not as many men in the community? Like you said, maybe there are, but what is it? Like, for example, a big thing when Suhail was talking that came to me, I realized life's too easy in Melbourne. You know, they say like tough times makes tough people. And to be a man, look, you have to be willing to go through tough times. And like we said before, we don't want that awkward encounter. We'd rather take the easy path. And what's that going to do? Like, you know, easy choices, hard choices, easy life. And we keep looking for the easy choices. And that's going to make us less of a man in the long run. And that's what I feel like in Australia, alhamdulillah, life's actually very easy for us. But back home, like all of us now, parents and grandparents, it's a much tougher life. And that's why they're more, would you say, like the characteristics of what we think a man is, you know?
I think it goes back, like, just to touch on like the whole adversity thing and that, like, I guess another reason, and this is not the sole blame because you can only blame as an individual, yeah, but parenting has a big factor in all of this as well. You know, like one thing I realized when I was working at my old joint, I'm calling it old joint now, even though it's been like a week, it's like you see it on Sundays, like 5-year-olds will come with their dad, and he'll show them the difference between like a nut and a bolt. And he'll show them difference, or how do you do this and all that kind of stuff. And that kid's dreading it. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to go home and play on his PS4, PlayStation 5 or something like that with his friends. yeah. But then the good thing about that is later on when they grow up, they'll have these like tiny little skills, you know, that they see their parents go through on a daily basis. So they mimic that, yeah. So then when they are to face adversity, they're able to like deal with it, you know what I mean? Compared to like kids nowadays where, you know, when like sort of, and I'm saying this specifically for like the Somali community, what I see as well, because obviously I'm directly involved in that, yeah. It's easier to keep your kid at home or just keep him in the car and chuck him a TV show to watch, you know what I mean? Rather than take him and then like teach them those little life skills. So then later on when they are faced with those adversities, they're able to navigate that. And I guess that starts like a constant cycle, you know, because you can't blame the parents because they were once individuals at one stage, yeah? So they became parents and then they probably didn't know how to navigate, you know? But it takes, I guess, one person to break that chain and create like...
Yeah, that's where self-awareness comes in.
Yeah.
That's where it's important to kind of go to yourself. Hang on a second. Okay, my dad didn't quite have the faculties to do so for me. Like, maybe I break the chain and I do that for my son instead. And then a cycle, or at least if your son is switched on enough to take it on board, the cycle of goodness continues from him, you know? And this is like, I believe it's never too late.
Yeah.
Or at least I believe that if you don't know something, like, you can't be really held accountable for not being that. Does that make sense? Like your parents, for example, if they're not too aware about how important it was to show you how to deal with certain adversity or whatever it is, because they were too busy dealing with it themselves, and they forgot maybe to kind of like teach you how to deal with it because they were too busy trying to protect you from it, then like, because they weren't really taught like that. Does that make sense? Like their parents just dealt with everything and brushed the kids aside.
Exactly.
Then like, you can't really like blame them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's what we said before where, for example, your parents and their parents, the environment made them men. But now we come from an environment, you have to actually teach your kid how to be a man. Teach them these values and stuff and make sure they instill it. But back then in the village, from young, hard work, discipline, manners, respect, someone's older than you, your word is your honor, stuff like that. This is actually stuff we have to teach our kid, but back then it was something that was normal.
I feel like you have to fight back now, yeah?
Yeah.
Instead of actually like starting from like a level playing field, you kind of, it's an uphill battle against like...
But you got to accept that though, and I think that's what people don't do nowadays. They're like, everyone's dealt with a set of cards, you know what I mean? Like you might have certain issues that you go through that's different to Ali's and it's different to me, you know what I mean? But like, it's the way that you view those set of cards, you know what I mean? Like you can either play with them and sort of like find your feet, and Allah Alam, everyone goes through different
cards that you dealt with, 100%.
the cards that you dealt with. Or you can, and this is what a lot of people do nowadays, and hence why it's easier to attach yourself to the likes of whatever, Tupac, Biggie and all that kind of stuff, because you look at your cards and then you go, oh cool, I've got this problem that's similar to this person. Okay, cool, let me look at them as a role model. You know what I mean? But the thing is, it goes back to what I was saying before. You don't know about the million things of that they're going behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Or like going back to like the uncle examples, you know? You'll look at him and you'll be like, damn, like he's working and he's still able to maintain like a social life and all that kind of stuff. But he's dealt with a set of cards of his own, you know? And people nowadays, they play, I guess, the victim mentality. And this is what, if, you know, to answer one of your questions, like what consists of being a man or what some characteristics, I think it goes back to the whole like discipline situation. You know what I mean? Accepting that, like, hey, like I'm in a situation like this. I've been dealt with these cards. This is my situation. But hey, I'm just going to roll with it, you know? Because, cool, your parents didn't teach you, yeah? But now you're faced with the environment, and circumstances also makes a person to a degree, you know?
Yeah.
It's mostly taking responsibility for all these things and taking ownership of saying, like, to make a change, it comes from you.
Exactly. And, sorry, you want to land?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's easier said than done, you know, because... Like recently when I was leaving what's called my job, yeah, it's a small situation, yeah. But me personally, I've never ever left a job before, you know what I mean? And you don't know like how to act in a certain situation until you're actually facing the certain adversity, you know what I mean? Like, do I write it this way? Do I talk to them in that certain way, you know? So it goes back to you have to be sort of faced with certain problems, you know?
Yeah. And it's very easy to like just blame external, everything externally apart from yourself. Like for example, like I work at a primary school, right?
Yeah.
And I'm working like after school care, which like you're basically just babysitting in a way.
Yeah, dead haps.
Yeah. And then so like I work with some of the workers there, like I observe how they deal with the kids and interact with kids, because obviously kids don't understand their emotions, right? They do things like outrageous sometimes where it's like but they don't know what they're doing because they don't know how to control emotions and like frustration, all that type of things. But then we're adults. We should be understanding what they're going through. But then I see some of the workers I work with, they're blaming the kids for like doing this, why they're doing that, and then they respond like in the same way as them. It's like you're a grown man. You should know exactly what the kid's like going through, and you should be the one fixing the situation.
And they're blank canvases.
Exactly.
Like they're gonna learn from you if you teach them.
So it just shows like there's grown men out there still acting like little kids. It's like so disappointing.
Do you remember the story from the podcast you guys listened to about the mum when she asked the kid, Anas ibn Malik came, and then did you guys finish the episode or not?
I got to like 28 minutes in.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, it
Oh,
was on minute 31. And
there you go.
I don't know how you remember that guy.
31:56.
I'm just making it up. They're just a story, because see how like kids are blank canvases, and sometimes us as parents, going back to why we didn't build up as many men in the community, we tell our kid, hey, for example, always speak the truth, and if you stick to your word. But then there's always exceptions. So what happened was Anas ibn Malik came, and his mum said, go do these errands for me. And then the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw Anas ibn Malik and said, hey, go do these errands for me. So the Anas ibn Malik went and did errands the whole day, came back to his mum, and then it was like late at night. And then she goes, where were you? And then he goes, I went to help the Prophet. Okay? And then she said, with what? He goes, I can't say. You know, it was a secret. Like, it's not my place to say. But what happens is, a lot of times us as parents are like, it's just me, tell me. Because sometimes you're worried or whatever, or you're inquisitive. Just like, tell me, it's just me. But you're teaching the kid that when you stick to something, there's ways out. And that's why us now, when we, like, it's like, oh, okay, someone said a secret, I'll just tell my best mate. And then just tell your best mate, you know?
Yeah,
like
it becomes 20. Yeah.
It's like what Peter Lies, the theme song. The only way you can keep a secret, the only way two people can keep a secret is one of them is dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, excuse me.
The only way two people can keep a secret is one of them is dead.
Yeah.
True.
What happens is rumors. Yeah, Allah. But rumors in the community, like as in like, you know, high school rumors, like one person goes, I'll just tell my best friend, don't tell anyone. And they'll go tell their best friend.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like you're teaching a 5-year-old, if you say, hey, here they go, it's a secret. Me and my friend had a secret from school. If you say, hey, no, it's just me, you're teaching them a different lesson. And that's what we have to be conscious of. There's all these little things that are like, damn, you know?
Is that manners, bro?
They say a secret is something you tell someone not to tell someone else. You know?
It's also there's also the fact that like as soon as it leaves your tongue, it's no longer a secret.
Yeah.
Like that's something that people define.
Yeah.
It's something that you keep enclosed for good. But it's true, man.
You shouldn't tell someone a secret unless you value them.
Honestly, like you can't really teach a person a value and then tell them to break it on certain circumstances and situations.
Just lip service.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then, like, where does it end? Because they start to feel a special connection with somebody else. Now, all of a sudden, they're okay to know. He's okay to know. She's okay to know. But the person who's told you about it is not happy with anybody knowing in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's the hard thing. Was there other things that came to mind?
I was thinking about something Ali said, you know, when he was talking about the whole thing with not childcare. That's a violation, sorry. After school care.
Same thing, yeah.
Still caring for children, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
But it reminds me of Jordan Peterson. You know when he speaks about there's this chapter in his 12 Rules for Life book where he speaks about, like, don't get in the way of your kid hurting himself or something like that. Because there's valuable lessons when they fall in those sort of adversities and that. Just the more I think of it, I was just thinking of it, like, solely on its own. But I guess that's why we produce a generation of, I guess, quote-unquote, soft people. You know, because what happens is you're protecting them from all these harms and dangers and all that kind of stuff. They don't have you're not instilling value and integrity in them. You know, I mean, certain characteristics later on in life that they can actually
resilience, yeah,
resilience and like even integrity as well. Yeah, like for example, going back to the whole trust thing. If you keep them away from like certain truths and sometimes like it's all right to actually give them a little bit of hard information, something they might not be able to be. Obviously, the parent would know in that scenario, just so then later on they're not like shocked when entirely it comes to them, you know. But I was thinking about that, so yeah. I lost my train of thought.
You're right.
You said childcare 12 years. Yeah,
no. I get where you're coming from. Yeah. But one thing as well that I was thinking about was the need to act out. You know, like for this generation, everything's about image. You know. And I wanted to see what you boys thought about, for example, you know a brother personally, you know how he is, you've met him before, maybe you've traveled with him, and the way he acts isn't aligned with the actual person that you've met or the way they are. Like, do you feel like there's an alignment with being a man and holding true to who you are? Or do you think that's just kind of situational or phase or something like that?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. The question is, which side of him is actually him?
I'm saying, to be honest with you, you'll know a person when you've traveled, when you've dealt with money with him, or when
business.
You've done business with a person.
Okay.
And a lot of the times when you travel with somebody, you know, you have those, sounds so bad, but intimate moments. You're kind of like, it's like
he's locking eyes with Ahmed too.
I know all about Ahmed, bro.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, you know, you have those moments with the person where you just kind of discuss things or you speak to them one to one. Like there seems to be no walls put up. You know, you two like express yourselves fully, and you kind of get across certain topics and certain points of and you kind of like you've kind of got a feel for the person and who they are, you know. Because I know guys, and it sounds so odd, but they'll be extremely like one to one, they're legends, you know, absolute guns. And then whether it's with other people,
like group settings and that.
Yeah. Whether it's with other people or it's with, you start to see a side of them you don't believe it's them. You know, you can tell it's not them, but you just feel like the social pressure changes the person. Like, do you believe that's a factor that people should take into consideration when they kind of like are developing into the men that they're going to be in the future?
I think it touches on your point before, like act out. So, for example, there's certain scenarios like Ali and I are in, and we're with people, and then we'll see someone will make a joke or do a certain thing, and we look at each other, and we know the person's just doing it for a reaction. You know what I mean? And that's the thing where you kind of have to like look and say why they're doing it. Sometimes there's multiple different things that's going in their head. Like sometimes someone's in a big group and they don't like the convo not being around them or them being involved, so they want to make a joke or do something to make people laugh and make them think they're funny. There's all these different things that are going through different people's heads. You know, it has been tough recently because we're not used to social connection. So it's like, hey, do I have a connection with someone? Am I not funny? Do they think it's boring? I don't know. All this stuff. Are you asking like, what should we do as friends?
Oh no,
or
no,
about
like the person themselves. You know, like for example, in high school there was a mate of mine that I had. And he was amazing human being, very good, like on deen, whatever it was. And then he'd have these moments.
Wait, a Muslim at your old high school?
Yeah, I had
a couple of Arabs and stuff.
A couple Muslims, couple Arabs. Narrowed it down. Damn, playing Guess Who right now. But no, it's none of you if you think it's you. Not you. But anyways, there would be moments where, for example, like the Aussie or the non-Muslim boys would come around, and they'd act like, oh yeah, I'm not frigid. No, I've been out with girls. Oh yeah, no. And sometimes, like for example, the boys would like look at him and go, hey, where are you going? Like, oh, don't worry about it. Tries to be mysterious, you know? And you know it's not him, because I've kicked it with you playing PS3, PS4. You're not like this, cuz. You're a bit of a, mind my language, you're a bit of a virgin. Cuz? let's just relax a bit, let's just chill out. Like, why you gotta act? Why you gotta act out in these moments? You know? And I feel like that comes to like knowing yourself and who you are, and kind of like accepting the type of person you are. You know what I mean? Like, there's, for example, you know, a lot of people like they act staunch in circumstances because like, and this is me talking about myself now. When I was younger, all I wanted to do is kick it. You boys know me. I'm just down for vibes. I don't care about anything else. I just want to kick it, have a laugh, go home, sleep. I'll be all right. And then there's moments where I feel like somebody's treading on my toes, and the only way for me to assert myself as a man is to flex what God has given me in the fighting department, or in the ability to stand up for myself, or to and we see this as men a lot. You have to kind of like little man somebody else in order to
elevate yourself.
You know what I mean? I don't know. This is probably me revealing too much about myself.
I think it goes back to what literally in your head you think makes you a man. If you think it's stepping up to the plate and that's going to make you a man, because when we see like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, every single time someone came and grabbed him on the neck, you know, did something in the spat on him, threw guts on him, came and, you know, urinated in the masjid, or did something, you know, came with a sword, came to kill him. Did he ever? He was the strongest. You know, there was equal to like 30 or 40 men. You know, there was times where people would say, like, someone came and wrestled all the companions, beat them all. Prophet came and ran amok on him. So he could have easily like gotten his respect and felt like a man through reacting. But then he goes, no, I don't need to. That's not where I find my manhood from. And so a lot of times we kind of see that. So sometimes people feel like acting out. Like it's, what did you say before? It's easy to do it when you're on top. Like people, you remember listening to the podcast? Hobbless was talking about people love being the man on the little guy. Now I'll earn my place because I know I'll wreck you. The guy's 5'1", you're 6'3", big boy. You know you'll wreck him in a fight, so that's the kid you'll bully. Because that's gonna, it's like, you know what I mean? Is that really making you a man? And that's where you got to kind of, that's why knowing yourself, the self-awareness is the real test.
So it all stems from insecurities then basically.
100%. Yeah. I genuinely believe that a lot of us men, quote unquote, we kind of like act out in those regards because we feel the need to prove something to others. And well, at least I can speak for myself. It's backfired a lot of times. You know,
it does.
It doesn't turn out the way you expect it to turn out. You know, and
because you tend to start to juggle like multiple identities as well. You know, it's like who you are, then the person who you've sort of showed yourself to be with. Like let's just say all of you. So let's say I'm Abduali with Ali, then with Sohail and all that kind of stuff, and then later on at one point, then your true identity is actually going to fall out. You know what I mean? And then that's where I guess you're at rock bottom, and then all you see is all your insecurities. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to be funny because of this person. I was trying to act strong because of this person. You know what I mean? Because usually those qualities come out when you see it in the other person. You know what I mean? So then after you start to like project your insecurities.
And over time, bro, people are going to see right through you, man. Like people are going to notice, they know the true you. They're going to start to see, oh, hang on, that's not you. Why are you acting like that? And then it will start to become more common that people start to realize things about you. And then it just gets worse from there.
Also being comfortable in yourself gives people the ability to be comfortable with you. And I've noticed that there's certain people that I've met that are secure, that I feel are quote unquote men, that kind of acted like themselves and never hid like their emotions, or had never felt the need to kind of like avoid certain things with you, and they can like be straight shooters and they can tell you how they really feel and whatever it is, but they'll do it in a manner where you kind of feel comfortable with what they're saying, you know. And one brother that I really look up to had once like I felt so safe in front of him to be myself, to not have to kind of like, oh, do I say something here to make him laugh, or do I say something here to make him feel like I've got no emotions, or I'm composed, or you know, I'm kind of like relaxed. I got to turn deep on my voice here. Do I, you know, when you get those feelings of insecurity in those moments there, those people that are like, that give you that capability or that ability to be mellow or to be who you are in those situations, those are the people that I really look up to and try to be like myself.
And that going back to the whole cycle thing that I was saying before, you know, like the whole thing is like prior to like becoming a parent, like the whole marriage thing and all that kind of stuff, it all goes into like that self-assurance, that like knowing yourself will prepare you to know who to get married to. Do you get what I mean? That one individual, and that one individual will create like a couple. So inshallah, you can raise kids that are of value, type of thing, you know. And that's the thing as well. Like with going back to the whole adversity thing, like many men don't face, or many boys don't face adversity till they actually like dealt with a situation like marriage and all that kind of stuff. Hence probably why we'll save this for another podcast, because whatever, the whole marriage thing and all that. But like until they're faced with certain adversities, they think like the situation will reveal themselves, like they will become a man when they get to that stage. You know what I mean? But that's not how it is. You have to get in touch with yourself prior to that, and then those characteristics will come out and show itself.
I think early on, I remember Sohail said it, is the circumstances don't make the man, they just reveal them.
Who said that? Seneca, yeah?
I remember Sohail said it, so I was kind of
stick with Sohail.
But
quotes.
At the Stoic.
Obviously, guys, when we talk about manhood, there's so many different things, and one of the purposes for why I wanted to do it is to spark the idea. It's like, okay, us for to all think, what does it mean to be a man? Because that's technically who you want to become. If you don't identify yourself as a man now, it's something you want to be. And I think if we keep jumping from thing to thing, it might not be chronological enough, or like in a way for people to be like, I remember what they said. So I wanted to go around and let someone just drop a few things that they think, and then we'll like touch on it. It's like, damn, I didn't even think of that. And I want someone to go deeper on it, just so people can start thinking. Because like you said before, with you having, you were gonna like, you wanted to fight people to kind of make yourself feel manly. That didn't happen to me as a kid. I wasn't like, hey, to make me, it was something else. So I wanted to touch on each one, even if you say 2, 1, 4, and it's like, okay, damn, why are you thinking like that?
I saw your list.
What, like,
Yeah.
well, like touch on the situation.
Develop.
So, for example, because for example, I don't know if you identify yourself as a man yet,
Yeah,
but
that
you
was
might.
one of my questions.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard one, but
Yeah.
you're cute.
What do you
Good
identify?
By tensing.
That's the
Sorry.
That's the left bicep too.
Sorry. But it's one of those things where, if at the end of the episode we say so many different things at different times, it's hard for people to actually like write their
100%.
own list. And I want
100%.
people to actually think and say, look, right now, right here, I was looking through it. There's an Islamic book here. It says 44 ways to manhood. Because you're not going to remember 44. So I want people to realize what their 4 things are. And they develop and they work on it. So if we just go around, it's like, hey, one from Ali, one from Suhail, one from Ashraf. That's my step 1. Because you can't be, like, you might not become a man in a month or whatever, like, you know.
Yeah.
So I want to go Ali first. Yeah.
Go Ali first, I reckon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, some of the things from that list we've already mentioned, but then one I'm going to mention. What's so funny?
What's this list?
No, I have a few notes and whatever from. I
Say a
read that
couple,
book
yeah,
as well.
I cheated.
So
as
one
well.
of the things, one of the things, like especially nowadays, like what I've been thinking, like not just for myself, but just in general, like what's more important is how your interactions with the opposite gender, like not even just like, you know, pursuing marriage, or whatever. It's like even with your family members, like the importance of your relationships with them, because obviously we are different in the way we respond to things, our emotions, controlling of emotions as well. And I feel like it's very important to understand, how do I put this?
Emotional intelligence.
Yeah, emotional intelligence in a way.
Oosh, that's a good
Yeah.
answer. That's tough.
Because I think these days what I'm seeing, because I'm on TikTok as well, what I see on TikTok as well, like I'll just speak for guys, like a lot of guys seem like they're reaching out to try and get the attention of the opposite gender in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to ask yourself, like
thirst traps?
yeah, well, that's one massive one. Yeah, exactly. But there's more than that. Yeah. But then you have to ask yourself, would you still do these? Would you still produce this content when you're married? How would you be as a married man when you have a wife, and then you obviously can't be like speaking, you're limited to interaction with the opposite gender in general. Once you're a married man, like you have to ask these questions to yourself. How would you speak to even other girls, like when you interact with them, when you encounter them at work? Like, you know, in terms of respect, or like, you know, the conversations you have, how direct would you be? I think that's very important these days, because it seems like people are reaching out too much, trying to get the attention of the opposite gender, but it's like, why are you doing that for?
There's a phenomenon back in the day in Newport. It was like a lot of the elders used to tell you, hey, don't go near any of the other girls, because if you have a sister or a daughter in the future, it's going to happen to them, because what goes around comes around, yeah? And a lot of the times that actually hindered me. I'm not going to lie to you, even though it might not be true, it kind of hindered me from any of that sort of like that realm until I was a kid, bro.
It's a perspective. Like,
you know
I want to quickly go back to Ali, but there was a time where a companion came up to Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and said, you know, like, I have I want to commit adultery. I want to I'm gonna commit this sin, stuff like that. I'm gonna, you know, like make a connection with a female that's I'm not married to. The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his hikmah was, you know, like, do you have a mum? Do you have an auntie? Do you have a sister?
Make it halal for me, he said.
But he asked him, he goes, how would you feel if someone wanted to do this with them?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
If you say, okay, Bismillah, I'm going to go enjoy my 20s, I'm going to, you know, go around clubbing and do whatever. Picture in that moment, it's like, I have a sister, I have a mum, I have you know, cousins. Would I want the same thing for them?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't, so let me stay away.
Yeah.
You know?
And just to develop on that further, it's like you were saying, the way you deal with the lady folk of your family, sounds good, yeah. The lady folk of your family, yeah. And we heard Mufti at that little halaqah after the salah, what he was talking about, how the way Rijal Qawamuna al Nisa, and how the way the man of the house is always responsible, is always going to be responsible for the actions of his the female counterparts or female members of the family. And on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gonna there's gonna be a guy who was at the mosque front row praying, reading Quran, and he's gonna get dragged to Jahannam by his mother or his daughter or his grandmother, and they're gonna say and they're gonna look at him and he's gonna be like, what, like, why are you dragging me? Because while you were reading Quran and doing all those things, you didn't warn us enough, or you didn't take responsibility for us. Yeah. So now you're gonna be held accountable for what you neglected. And that was a hadith that was sahih, correct? Yeah. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I'll find that. We'll put it inshallah in the
show notes.
Subtitles.
The show notes. Let's go, Ali. What's some more stuff you got? Because
I think it's on the topic of like interacting with people in general, where it's like giving respect to receive respect, basically. Because obviously we know, like I've spoken to some, I don't want to keep bringing up marriage, man, but like it's similar where it's like married guys talk about like the one thing guys want in general is respect. And how else do you get respect is by giving respect to people in general when you speak to them, interact with not just older generations, but just in general. Like because even for example, you're speaking to a younger generation and that's what you want. You want them to respect you, right? But then you have to be interacting in a way where, how do you put it? Where you're not like, you are playful, but then you're not too playful where it's like,
it's opposite gender again?
No, I'm saying in general.
Yeah.
Like it's
because playful, that's why I'm like, flirtatious.
Interactions with people in general, like all types of generations, because you obviously have to alter the way you are with certain generations, the way you speak to them, the way you approach them, and your mannerisms and that.
I have a question. Does that make, or like this is me just being like devil's advocate here, but wouldn't that make respect something that's transactional? Like wouldn't it put it in a situation where that I give respect, but I only give respect to receive it? You know what I mean? Or like, this is just food for thought here.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like respect needs to be rather earned than to be given back
unconditionally?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're because you can't be expecting the person to give you respect every encounter. You don't know how that person will react to certain things. I think it just comes down to yourself in like your intentions of how you approach like interacting with people in general with your mannerism.
Yeah, 100%.
And values. I think values is a big thing.
Yeah, because you shouldn't be expecting anything to be honest from other people, because you don't know how they're going to react.
Yeah.
But then you have to play your part and actually like show your akhlaq and be nice to people.
Okay.
Value them as well.
Yeah, I do agree with you 150%. I believe that you treat people the way you want to be treated.
Exactly.
And if you act or carry yourself in a respectable manner, people have no other option but to respect that. You know,
100%.
If you hold tight to your morals and to your ethics, and you carry yourself in a way, you don't look for the respect, but it does come with the territory. You know, but then we don't want to get caught up in this. I'm doing things, so therefore you must, and that's when, because that's what happened with me. You know, growing up, I was in a situation where I'll be nice to a person to get niceness back. Yeah. You know, and that never ends well.
It never does.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by transactional.
Yeah. Because you can't control the way people react.
Exactly.
Yeah. External.
Exactly.
What
you got any more on the list? Break them out, cuz.
The episode's just me, bro.
No, it's right. We've got time. You go one more if you want. Just tell us when you, because bro, the best thing is it's sparking thoughts. Because now I'm thinking, damn, you know, because I got a story. I want to break down one of yours. But Lenny.
I'll say what my mate said as well. The ability to say yes or no.
Okay. So like known priorities.
Yeah, I think that's going on with like, believing, like knowing what you want out of things, and obviously having to say no in certain situations in order to stick by what you believe and what you need to do. Like it's hard to explain. Like it's the idea of FOMO, for example, saying no. You know, you're not always hanging out with like the group of boys every week, and you feel like you're going to be missing out. You're going to become an outsider. But then it's like you have to stick by your values and what you have to do. And then
simple decisiveness. That's a big one.
It sounds easy, but it's not.
It's
Yeah.
100%.
It's crazy. I wanna, because before when you said about, would you say like with the opposite gender, you have to understand the emotional intelligence and the emotional capabilities of the people you're with. Like for example, when you're married and you have a partner and you're at work, you don't want to have like what people call, like I said at work, it's called like a work wife. That's my work wife. And we go lunch every single day and we chat. Like that's a normal thing. That's what people say. But then also like they have best friends and they hug and they this, that. So you have to understand like what is the relationship you want to have, especially like your spouse isn't here. So do you want to go hug girls and chat to people and stuff like that? Or do you want to have a relationship with like, no, out of respect for my wife, because I know she wouldn't like this, this is not what I'm going to do. It's like the topic of ghira. You know, like that's a human nature in us as Muslims. Man, it's like that
Protective jealousy.
Yeah, protective jealousy over our, family, over our wives and stuff like that. And there was a story of Zubayr ibn al-Awwam. Okay, he's one of the Ashir al-Mubashirin, 10 Prophet Jannah. He's the prophet of the cousin. Okay, the prophet's wife is Aisha, and Aisha's sister is Asma binti Abu Bakr, and Zubayr got married. Okay, so the prophet's cousin is married to Aisha's sister. Asma is on a journey and she had some trouble holding all of her stuff, on their head and all their bags and stuff like that. So the prophet came up to her. It's his wife's sister-in-law, pretty close, and it's his cousin's wife, his family. He goes, hey, would you like some help? You have some difficulty on your journey. This is the prophet asking you for help. She said, no, because I know Zubayr will get jealous. This is like, think about that level. It's like, I'm saying no to the prophet, and I need the help because I'm having difficulty, because I know my husband who isn't here, who's your cousin, might get jealous.
I wouldn't like it, yeah. There's respect.
And then she went and told Zubaydah, and he goes, I was jealous of the dates you were holding because they were close to you. It's like, that's the kind of love and relationship they had, But it's like, that's the level where us were like, oh, I'll go to work and I'll have lunch with one of my colleagues who's a girl, and we'll chat and we'll go out for drinks after or whatever. And it's like, is this the type of relationship you want? And that's where you have to kind of know what's going to affect your relationship. It's emotional intelligence about your partner, and about your siblings and stuff like that.
But that's why we need to start thinking like that even before you get married. Like, it's not easy, but then just establishing those boundaries of like the way you interact with people, because we can get caught up. Like, our number one desire for guys is girls. Like, you would want to hang out with them. You would,
And money.
Yeah, money as well, of course. But like, you gotta establish these things early on. Like, even as simple as like social media, because it's on the tip of your fingers. Like, it's so easy for me to like follow girls, for example, like interact, message. But then it's like you have to think to yourself, like, what if guys were following like my female cousin or my sister? And it's like just double standards. Like, you know what I mean?
You don't decline in the request.
What?
Look at his face. This guy can never decline anything.
This guy's king.
It's yes or no, bro. This is what it takes to be a man, is to be able to say no. This guy just accept.
I'm just putting him on the spot.
Yeah, have a look at my Insta, bro. Yeah.
Do you know what legendary thing is? He goes, I don't accept because I'm on private. But then he goes to public in a week and it automatically accepts everyone. So he goes, I just like that. It wasn't me, but it was a little transition thing.
We see you, bro.
That was 4 years ago.
It was last week.
Yeah. Accumulates,
because now it's on you. Let's go. I want to see what it takes to be a man.
We've covered a lot of good ones. You know what I mean?
It's a great way to get out of it. Carry on.
A lot of major ones. What's a great way to be a man? Is that what you said?
Like, what's some characteristics that maybe you want to work on? I want to hear legendary.
I'd say the best one, honestly, that resonates with me is just being like in touch with yourself. Because masculine, like, fragility is a big thing. You know, when people joke about it, like the liberal feminist girls and all that kind of stuff, they take the piss out of that conversation. But it's an actual thing. Like, it's often going back to the guy-girl situation, whatever. Like, often guys get girls to prove that they can get girls. You know what I mean? Or they try and hustle and look like, or they flex their 50s and whatever on the internet to look like they've got money and all that kind of stuff.
Who are you around, bro?
Say again?
Who are you around?
With 50s? yeah, man got dollars. That's crazy. But yeah, masculine fragility is a big one, and it goes back to like one of my favorite videos to listen to, and I've listened to it, like I keep on listening to it, is Naval's 40-minute video on conquering the mind, where he just speaks with he just speaks for 40 minutes, and he just speaks about, and the major concept of the video is being in touch with the thoughts that are going on in your mind, and being comfortable with those thoughts, because that's like you having a conversation with you, rather than seeking that validation externally, have that internal conversation, because he speaks about your external environment doesn't get fixed until your internal environment's fixed, and so the things that cause you to not feel fragile and all that kind of stuff, or vulnerable, you need to be in touch with it. So that's probably my takeaway,
Like, how would you work on it?
How would I work on it?
Yeah. Is it reflection? What do you do?
I'd say the simplest way, to a degree, is just listening to the thoughts that come up. You know, we listened to this. You sent this episode once, in the group chat. You know, Faisal's podcast where he speaks with those Tazkiyah boys, the pornography boys, and all that. I'll be honest, bro. I remember nothing from that episode except one thing. Yeah, he said something about like the importance of like journaling. Yeah, and I'm not gonna delve into journaling and stuff, but why I felt that bit was important was because he speaks about how, like, if you constantly journal every single day, there's often these thoughts that keep reappearing, you know, and they're the ones that you want to address, you know, because if you're not, clearly it's coming up for a reason, you know, and if you're not addressing them, so addressing the thoughts that come into your mind, wherever it is, big or small, you know what I mean, and try and find out where they stem from, you know, but that's advice.
That is true. Like, journaling is pretty much reflecting. That's one of like the most highly emphasized things now, and even at the Prophet's time. Like, that's literally the point. It's like what we have to be doing is reflecting.
And personally, I've started to try do it, not journaling, but like, because we're constantly, how do I say it? We're constantly entertained on a daily basis, you know? Like with the ease of like AirPods, Beats, like, you know, your headphones and all that kind of stuff. Like, I know me personally, if I'm walking around the house, I've got Beats on. If I'm going to the toilet, I've got my AirPods in. At night time when I'm going to sleep, fam, TikTok, fam.
Bro, don't you remember we went for the road trip? We stayed at that place. This guy woke up and he's got AirPods in. I'm like, bro, I'm like, chat to us, bro.
Bro, I love AirPods, bro. But listen,
sorry, bro. To me, that's
Even at night time when I'm going to sleep in that, like I'm listening to something. You know, so you never have that moment of time where, like, you might have it when you're going for your drives, when you're doing coffee runs and that. Your deliveries for veggies and that. But I never have that time where, like, my mind is just, I'm letting it race and think and all that kind of stuff. And, you know what I mean? So having that quiet time is sometimes nice, you know?
I think it's needed, man. Because you need to be a bit more conscious of your thoughts. That's where the journaling gives you the opportunity to be more conscious of your thoughts.
He's got his list, huh?
You seem
relax.
You seem keen for yourself.
I want to hear Sahal's list.
What'd you do that for?
I'm just excited.
Oh, for mine?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Because you've been
a little too excited.
No. Because, bro, like, Sahal's, mashallah, 14 years old, got a big beard like that. This guy's been he's looked like a man since he was, you know, a boy.
Yeah.
So your list must be hectic.
I think number one is you don't need to act out to
Grow a
prove that
beard.
you're a man.
Huh?
Grow a beard as well,
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
You'll get in there, inshallah.
You can't use yourself, bro.
Yeah, so you know that, yeah?
Facial alopecia. But we can
Acting
I
out.
can delve into that a little bit further. What I mean by that is what I've noticed is from myself and from people closer to me, is that there feels like there's a need or there's a void around people, especially around certain people, that they need to act a certain type of way to kind of prove that they're cool or that they're in, or that they're the person that, you know, that they should be hanging around, you know, and like don't feel the need to kind of like compromise your morals and your ethics and things that you stand for or the person that you are. Like, bro, if you sounds so bad, but you watch Jane the Virgin, bro, just be happy with yourself. You know?
So you recommended Peaky Blinders, Jane the Virgin.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
But
Like,
he skips the part.
there's certain things you enjoy. Like, I remember there's a show called This Is Us. Yeah, like, I mess with it hard, like, but I remember keeping it to myself for a long time. Like, bro, you done me telling people that nah, bro, get out of here. Like. You know what I mean? I remember.
This guy Loki watches Game of Thrones. I know.
No. That I don't watch. That I don't watch. Nah, I've got no clue what goes on in that show. I heard it's very bad, so I stayed away from it. But anyways, what I was saying was, like, there's certain things that everybody enjoys, and like Abdul was saying himself, is that certain people are dealt cards. They're dealt certain cards, and you gotta work with the cards that you're dealt. Yeah, and a lot of the times, if you notice it in poker, that you can't see the guy's cards that they're dealt that's next to you, so they're hidden. But what you have to know is, and like David Goggins says, you know, that everybody's effed up. Yeah, just some people are better at hiding it than yourself. So, like for example, for Abdiwali, what I would say is, like, maybe do get the chance to sit with yourself for a bit, you know? Well, this is advice to myself too, because I catch myself lacking sometimes, and I start to kind of like just avoid what's going on with her, and then I start acting out. I start getting angry very easily, or I start getting into situations more with people, or like I notice myself being a lot less tolerant of other people. And that's only because I'm allowing myself to kind of veer in that direction, like aimlessly, and kind of like not allow myself to reflect, take a breather and go, hang on, are you like, do you know who you are? Like, you're a slave of a God. That's it. That's all you are. In essence, all of us are just slaves of God. Nobody's special except for the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know? And we all find out who's special in the hereafter. But that's only based off of the actions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accepted. Or what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. And none of this stuff is from us. Like people that get G'd about being good looking, because nobody, and I mean nobody, worked on themselves to be good looking. God just blessed you with that. You know? Like intelligence, God blessed you with that. Everything that you have, that you can kind of like gain some sort of like arrogance or ego about, cause you didn't have nothing to do with it. God gave you all that. Nobody worked on anything but themselves, you know.
So it's pretty much like being that comfortable with the cards that you're dealt.
Exactly.
Like doesn't matter what it is, be comfortable, be confident, be grateful, and like
Accept
it's not something where you're trying to change because like someone else is. Like you're trying to act out so you can be someone else. And like you be yourself, man.
Exactly. And us as Muslims, we have guidelines, bro. We have the perfect example. We had the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know. And he cried when his kids died. There was a guy that came up to him and goes, "I'd never kiss my kids." And the Rasul said, "What am I gonna do if Allah snatched mercy from your heart?" You know, like that's something that us as individuals, as men, would say, "Far, you know what? Like, I haven't said I love my parents. Like I haven't said to my parents that I love them, or haven't appreciated the people that are around me that have helped me to become the person that I am, or like there's many things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me that I haven't thanked Him for, and you start to notice that like if you start to just move in you just start to move through life on autopilot, you don't give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala His haqq, you know, you don't give the people around you their haqq. And if you're not grateful to the people that are around you, when you lose them, or when you lose those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, damn, like, why didn't I take advantage of that stuff when I had it, you know? So find what you value most, and figure out what your morals and your ethics are, what you stand for, what you don't stand for, what are your core values, what are your things that you can kind of like work around people with.
Would you recommend writing them down or anything?
What is it?
Like writing those down, like the values and the morals. Sometimes we just say, being honest. But then if you don't write it down, you're not going to remember it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I don't myself, which I probably should. That's a good idea. But there's definitely some things where you'd rather have a reference kind of to look back on and go, hang on, this happened, but I don't really mess with this sort of stuff. So in these situations, when this arises again, I know who I am. I'm Sahil, who doesn't really stand for this stuff, you know? And that's why the deen is amazing. Because the deen's already given us our guidelines and has offered us morality, objective morality, morality where everybody has the same playing field, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us and told us like, hey, this is what's right, this is what's wrong. Enjoy the good, forbid the evil, move on. You know, that's it. This is how it is, and stick to those values and those morals, man. Because if you can't, bro, what are we, man?
Exactly.
You know,
reminds me of what Malcolm X says. You know, if you don't stand for anything, you fall for anything.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that, you know.
You don't want to be baseless humans, bro.
It's like, see what you said, like the deen gave us this. I know Goggins, who you said before, he doesn't lie, okay? And the way he fixed it, because he was a big liar as a kid, he would lie for no reason. So when he was obviously going through his like rebirth of the person he was, he said, every time I lied to someone, I'd go back and tell them I lied to you. So for example, I lied to you about something. He'd call the person and say, sorry, bro, I don't even know why, but I lied to you. And then I thought about that. I'm like, bro, do you know how awkward that conversation would be?
100%.
Like, imagine you lied about something useless. Like, it's like, for example, someone said, how much do you lift in the gym? You gave a number. You called like, bro, I didn't even know why, but I lied to you.
Yeah.
You know? And then it's like, but these kind of things where you have to catch yourself lacking. Because sometimes you do it on the nitty gritty, and then eventually it just becomes this easier habit. It's like you do it on the medium and the big. And
100%.
then it's like, this is a non-Muslim who's probably
You're
more
right.
conscious of his tongue than me. And it's like, come on, man.
And that kind of like trains you. It kind of gives you that awkward conversation. You have to go back and admit your fault rather than just saying the truth at the beginning and moving on with it, you know? And they always tell us, I remember Hoblas gave this advice to people. Like, if there's something that you want to stick to as a habit, make sure that there's a punishment for what happens when you don't commit to it or you don't actually fulfill that habit. Like, you don't pray your sunnah, for example, and you said you wanted to never miss a sunnah, yeah? Make sure that the punishment pinches you enough to make you go, hang on, nah, I don't want to do this again.
It's not worth it.
You don't want that awkward convo on the phone.
Yeah.
Going, hey, cuz, listen, swear to God, I need like 5 kilos bench, you know? But yeah, now let's hear Ashraf. I want to hear this as well.
Hit us.
Okay.
My hands are freezing.
Now we can get G. Let's do it.
Well, I think the main thing is when I started asking myself of what it means to be a man, it's what I want to work on. You know, 'cause obviously I'm a young guy. I'm 22, 23. 23. I don't know, because I just turned. I told someone today I'm 22. I'm like,
Wait, this is your time. I lied.
Yeah, sorry, boys.
Call me now.
Yeah, but it's one of those things like, you know, when you're young, you want to develop certain things.
100%.
And sometimes when I listen to a lot of podcasts on this, like what it means to be a man, and a lot of it was very nice and daisy and, you know, sunflowers and rainbows and a cute little points here and there. So there was nothing like substantial, like this is what I want to work on. And obviously like a big thing is like, for example, you got to have the physique of a man. You got to be a strong guy and stuff like that. And that's a big thing for some people, you know, but for me, a big thing is like what Legendary was talking about was discipline, conquering the mind. And I feel like for example, some people say discipline, how are you going to do it? It's, for example, praying 5 times a day. But for me, the thing that would make me a man and the discipline is praying salah every day in the mosque, Fajr.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like if like really that's one thing I don't do, so I'm not gonna act like I do it, but that is one thing that shows where your priorities in life is.
Yeah.
That you'd get 5 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep, whatever it is, and you'd wake up and you'd go Fajr. It's more important than anything else in the world. That's the one thing I don't remember the last time I did it. Maybe which camera?
That's a stinker if that's camera.
Which camera? Okay.
Right,
yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like that shows your priorities, and that's real discipline. Because, for example, I go gym most days. Gym's easy. But for the last 2 weeks, I wanted to go Fajr at the mosque. So on this episode, I can kind of like, and I couldn't even
Pull
do
yourself
it.
out, yeah.
Because I'm like, no, I'm sleeping at midnight. I'm only going to get 5 hours sleep. And it's like, you know, and then I heard the story. I was telling Legendary, I don't know if I told you boys, about Salah ad-Din Ayyubi. Is like people talk about him in lectures, stuff like that. He was the person, so Umar ibn Khattab, like 3rd year Hijrah, conquered Palestine. Then we lost Palestine for like 78 years, and Salah ad-Din Ayyubi conquered it back. So Salah ad-Din Ayyubi is known as the man, like Khalid ibn Walid as a war hero. After that, Salah ad-Din Ayyubi is probably the most well known. Like they make TV shows about it because he took Palestine back for the Muslims. Okay, so imagine there's the entire Muslim empire. You want to go take Palestine back for 80 years. Other people have taken it. Where do you go to get your strong people? You're gonna get the best archers, your whole army. You're gonna train people and say, "Let's go fight." He said, no one can enter my army unless you pray Fajr in the mosque.
SubhanAllah, yeah.
If I went, I can't even tell you how many people go Fajr in the mosque because I don't go. But if you went to a mosque, you'll probably find one line. But he goes, I'm going to go try to get Palestine back. And you can't join my army unless you pray Fajr at the mosque. Because that's discipline. That's real discipline. And I'm like, damn, that's the one thing I think would really set my priorities in life. Give me that foundation. That's one thing I want to work on. Inshallah.
Sorry, I just want to say on that, like, you know, praying at the mosque and stuff, making time. I remember in Ramadan we were talking about it. We realized when we went to one of the nights for Taraweeh, we realized like people can make the time out of their like busy schedule, full time, whatever, to actually come to the mosque, like living in the West. Like it's actually possible. It's just that we don't prioritize it. Because sometimes like during the year, you don't see many people for like Maghrib or Isha, like, you know, normal Tuesday. And we think, oh, no, it's not possible in the West. But it's like,
We're going for an hour.
in Ramadan, you see it. It's like, it is possible. It's just that we don't prioritize it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So that was a big thing with discipline. And I feel like that is the thing that will conquer my mind. Like it's like it's the big milestone. You know, like the small things you can do, go gym and whatever. But I feel like that would really give you your life like, a bit of
perseverance,
direction.
man. Yeah. That's 100%. That's another thing that quality of a man that should have is perseverance. Like, for example, there's, what scholar was it again that was struggling to do tahajjud for 25 years?
Allah.
I can't remember what it was, but anyways, for us, we're thinking, oh, well, one day I'll wake up and I'll become a person who prays tahajjud. There was a scholar who struggled with it for 25 years, and then the next 25 years, he was like enjoying the fruits of it. You know what I mean? So, and he just consistently kept working on it and rocking up and turning up and turning up and turning up. It's like it's easy to turn up when everything's going well and everything's going fine and dandy and everything's working in your favor, but you're still turning up when things aren't looking amazing, or it seems like there's like no hope left, or you know, those are the sorts of things that I believe. Like I believe a man runs without ego. You know, he's able to take, for example, like this is something that, well, at least I've noticed from my dad, is that regardless of acknowledgement or validation from the people around him for what he's done in his past for the family or for the people around him, like he still continues to do what he does because he feels like that's what his duty is as a man. Doesn't go around telling us, I need your appreciation. I need you to love me. I need you guys to tell me I've done well, you know? So, no, take on the chin, move, you know? And there was, this sounds so bad. Yeah, Daddy's Home.
Yeah, the movie, yeah.
Yeah, the movie, yeah. In Daddy's Home.
We need a Sohail compilation of show recommendations.
Yeah, bad. It's gonna be like a whole list.
He quoted the scholar and then he goes, yeah.
Yeah, Will
Daddy's Home.
Ferrell, yeah. Like, Will Ferrell in Daddy's Home was like, it's like part of being a dad is just getting crapped on, you know, and taking it.
It's true, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And part of being, a big part of being a man is, inshallah, in the future, if we all are fathers, a big thing is being a proper example for your kids, you know, for your son and for your daughter, and making sure that everybody has, you know, something to look up to.
Exactly.
You know, something to be better than. Because, who was it? Oh, my God, there's so many things that I can't. But anyways, there was somebody that said something about being a good person, and then Kyrie Irving. Okay. Yes, that's what it was. His dad. Sorry, he knows his tribe. Guys, the one thing that he said that was funny on that podcast was he said that he didn't say black people, he said melanated individuals, and I couldn't stop laughing. But I'm gonna start saying that from now on.
Free my guy.
He's my favorite melanated individual right now. Anyways, I carry on. He goes, he goes to his dad once, like, I want to grow up, I want to be just like you. He goes, no, I want you to be better than me. Imagine how good you'll be. Imagine how much of a good man you are. You'd be like how much of a good man you'll become, and I'm a hell of a person. You know, you're gonna be better than that. And I was like, you know, that's mad. You know,
it's like you said, perseverance is you got to, as a man, you got to have that ambition and stuff.
100%.
So that's a good thing. Another thing I wanted to touch on with after the discipline is the, let's say, refinement of character. You know, so a lot of times we have flaws, like we all listed, but it's putting the extra effort and energy at all times to become a better person. You know, and so figuring out, like, sometimes what you said before about self-awareness. Sometimes you don't even know it's a flaw, but someone advises you, and what do? I don't need to work on that. I don't need to do that. But our goal as a man, or even just as a human being, should always be trying to better ourselves and to get better. And that's where it's like, for example, you say, hey, I lied. That's a refinement of character. You're trying to fix being truthful, trying to fix talking about, you know, bad about others and backbiting and stuff. So really, that's a very important thing I want to keep working on, you know, because that's literally like personal development. A lot of times people just think it's productivity. And a lot of it now, like on YouTube, is literally how to study 8 hours a day and how to do this. And it's all about time management. But when I look at personal development, I literally look at like developing as a person, literally like fixing your character, fixing your personality. And that's literally all it's about, like from an Islamic perspective. But us in the West, it's like, how can I fit a 9 to 5, a side hustle, a gym, family, and some other investment thing in 24 hours?
It's become
like
corny.
That's how we look at it. But the goal should be to become a better person every single day. Yeah,
they've incentivized it. They've kind of created, like, they've made something that's supposed to be like inwardly profound. They've made it kind of surface level now. You know? And that's cooked, because the whole point of it is reflection. The whole point of reflection isn't to tell people that you've been reflecting. The whole point of reflection is to actually reflect and to kind of look inwards and go, oh, okay, this is what I realized about myself. This is what I need to work on. This is what I have to fix. And not just, I meditate 34 hours a day. This is what this guy says about it, and this is what that guy says about it. But
and I think it's also willing to learn something from anybody. Like, as in, it's a lot harder, especially learning from, like, for example, myself, learning from my younger brother. Like, that's not easy. Or like learning from like other people, like you meet like cousins and stuff that are younger than you. It's like it can what is this? You can hit your ego
100%,
because it's like, who are you? You don't know much. I've lived more than you. But then it's like, no, they're probably actually right. Like, actually consider what they've said, and then take action from there.
Ego's a massive one, bro.
Ego's the enemy, yeah. In all of our answers, the basis of it to a degree was ego. You know, if
The
you
nafs, yeah?
the nafs, that all came up, you know.
I think the link between it all as well is the idea of knowledge. Because all of these terms and words and ways to improve our character and become a man, the only way to learn all of them is to seek knowledge. You know, that should be one of the big things that we do. Like, if we're not seeking knowledge, we're not getting better, because you don't know how to get better. Doesn't matter what you do, podcast, books, articles, even just chat to people about something beneficial, whatever it is. You, like, for example, the ghira story, or talking about your parenthood and tactics for how to do it, or acting out. You don't know any of this stuff unless you actually learn new things. So that should,
If you know, you know, huh?
If you know, you know. Yeah. Hey, this guy's cut. Hey,
I've had enough.
yeah. I wanted to touch on one thing, boys. Manhood as a single man. Okay? Because listening to a podcast, people talk about responsibility. Right now, we all have sisters. We have a mum. We can help out, but we have a dad. We all have. These guys have older brothers. So you have an older brother. You got a dad that kind of takes responsibility away from your shoulders. So I wanted to touch on: do you think you can still? Because how I looked at it, I heard people say like you only really tested with responsibility when you get married. But that's what on the podcast they said. But the only thing is, that means, for example, all the scholars of the past that never got married, like Imam Nawawi, or even some people that Allah didn't bless them with marriage, are saying Allah stripped them from manhood just because they didn't get married. And that's where the thing is, like, I want to talk about responsibility. Can you still, because to be a man, you have to be responsible. Like you said before, with a shepherd, we take care of the family, we take care of our, you know, the people around us. Yeah. So do you think, how do you think that responsibility we can achieve? And is it even possible to achieve to the level of being a man when you're still dependent on other people? Because you're not technically the number one in charge.
Yeah?
You know, you're not.
It's like developing like the self-dependence, pre-marriage, which is not easy. I would say for myself, because I feel like as a person, I've always been like maybe too laid back in a way, where it's like I don't mind handing off the responsibility to like anyone else, like whether it's traveling, whether it's like organizing, like, you know, soccer with the boys, or even hanging out, where it's like only recently I've started to figure that out. It's like it's not a good thing, because, you know, you got to look, once you get married, once you have a family, you've got to do all these things. You're the man in charge. Like I've even questioned myself, like, how am I going to do it? And it's like, that's why, like, you have to put yourself in situations where you have to, like, my example, like, not everyone's going to learn this way, but it's like when, like, traveling alone, that's why I went. That's why, like, I had to do everything on my own. I was like booking, like, not even just the flights, but just little things, like, you know, actually looking at like, health insurance, all these little details, like how am I going to get around, and all these things, where I was put on the spot. I was like, what the hell? I've never had to worry about this, even though I've traveled so much, for example, when I'm younger, but it was all my dad. It was never me. It's like, oh crap, like all of a sudden, actually, you start to realize in these situations that you've been in, but you've realized that you still don't know how to figure it out. Where it's like, you just got to put yourself in that scenario.
Yeah, 100%. I reckon readying yourself for the sacrifice is important. I think that's essentially what
was it? Readying yourself?
Readying yourself for the sacrifice is important. So even if, for example, like you're saying, you're single, you're at home, your old man's still around, your old man's still alive, kicking, alhamdulillah. Any given moment that can change. Any given moment, your parents can just, you know, either die, or their health isn't all there, or they can't really take care of themselves. I think understanding your role in the family is important, and also understanding that at any given moment, the way things are can just flip on its head, you know, and understanding that when it's time for me to step up, I'm there to step up. It is what it is. I have to do it, and I'm not going to complain about it either. You know, it's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, because they say that, again, I need to stop paraphrasing, but the whole point of like the person who doesn't take care of their parents in their old age, when they've taken care of them when they were younger and they were helpless, it's like, it's one of the worst possible things you can do. You know, it's punishable in the hereafter for you not to do that, to not take care of them, to not kind of take on that responsibility. And if you aren't married, you still got that responsibility. And even if you are, you still got that responsibility, you know? So understanding you have to make those sacrifices, prioritize your life in a way where you understand that there's things that are very important, or there's things that are important that require your undivided attention and your unconditional love, your unconditional time and sacrifice. And there's other things that can, they could just move, you know, because we don't prioritize things as we should.
I'd agree with what Suhail said, along with that, but just the whole idea of like acknowledgement, you know what I mean? Like there is no defining moment that switches from a boy to a man, you know, like if you acknowledge this, you have to accept the fact that yes, I am a man, you know. If you get treated like a boy, then you will forever be a boy. But even if you treat yourself as a boy, then you'll ever be like a boy, you know. And also like the whole open-mindedness as well, you know, like willing to take on opportunities that like I guess are out of your comfort zone.
Even help when you're not being asked to help.
Yeah,
that's very important.
Being proactive and stuff.
You know? Taking the initiative to go. Okay, mom and my dad aren't asking me for help, but they could be struggling. You know, rent or food or gas or electricity or hey, mum here.
For sure. And
even what we go back to, like obviously I asked the question in a way that we're responsible for other people, the external environment, but also responsible for ourselves. Like what Legendary touched on before about having the victim mentality. Like really the likelihood of us going to Jannah, our physical body, our deen, we're pretty much responsible for that. How much effort and energy are you putting towards it? And that's also what we're responsible. And all these little things all add up to where you start becoming, like Ali said before, it's like, or all of us accepting your cards. I'm responsible for what Allah has given me, and I'm going to take the right steps and be open-minded 100%. And stuff.
Yeah, say alhamdulillah.
Yeah,
alhamdulillah.
Anyone out there that says like I'm not responsible or something like that, like the whole point of life to a degree is like a test, you know what I mean? And you wouldn't have been given that test if you weren't capable of, you know, so by default you're responsible. It's just when are you going to accept that mindset that I am responsible, you know? So yeah, it's a big one.
Alhamdulillah. Any more questions?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
Do you want another question?
Actually, I have a question. I have a question, yeah. Have you guys ever had a conversation with yourselves and said to, I'm not expecting you guys to say yes or no, by the way, but have you guys ever sat down with yourself and sort of thought of the idea or pondered on the idea that, am I a man or a boy? Just out of curiosity, you know. I personally haven't.
Not before this topic came out.
Yeah.
Because there's been like, I don't really ask myself, but there's been times where it's like, hey, you need to step up. Like there's been a couple of times where like I've gotten disrespected by someone who's older, and I know it's because they think I'm young. They think I'm naive. They think I'm this. It's like, well, at work, I'm like, no, you have to step up. You have to show you're a man. You know, you don't get, pushed around in that certain topic. I wouldn't see myself as the man I want to be. It's probably the best way to put it. I see myself as a young man.
It's a safe answer. I like that, yeah.
You know, like because what I say a man is, I'm working towards that. So I'm on the right journey. I'm on the right path. But I'm not going to say I'm a man because you can't be like a complete man. Like, so if I say I'm a man, I'm like, I'm here. You know what I mean? Rather, I'm on the journey. So I'm a young man. I'm 23, so you kind of give yourself that excuse. If you're 50, it's like, you know what I mean? It's hard to use the same excuses.
You got to pull up.
So I kind of know what I want to work on, and I'm fine being, let's say, like the level under it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least that's how I look at it.
I won't ever be able to answer that question until I'm dead. I'll be honest. Because I think a lot of the times when you praise yourself or you sit down and you kind of like reflect on everything, you're kind of like, there's this, also another paraphrasing, but there's this story of this scholar who, the shaitan came to him on his deathbed and he put his hands up and he said, hey, you got me, khalas, you won. Was it Ahmed?
Imam Ahmed. Let's hear the rest of the story and see.
Anyways, shaitan came to him on his deathbed and he goes to him, you know, you won. You got me, khalas, that's it. It's game over. You beat me. He's on his deathbed and the son of the guy is not hearing it, obviously the conversation between shaitan and the scholar. The son's sitting there going, hey, dad, come on. Say the shahada, say the shahada, say the shahada. And he's like, not yet, you know? And then what's actually going on is he's saying not yet to the shaitan, saying that he defeated him. And he knows that the fight doesn't end until your last breath, you know? And for us, I believe that you can do something in any given moment to undo all the goodness that you've done.
Yeah, for sure.
Although you can come back from it, but how you finish your life is how you lived your life. You know, that tells you, that's a testament to the man you really are.
For sure.
You know, deep down. And I hope and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that our best actions and our best versions of ourselves are on our deathbed, and that we are resurrected in that state, inshallah, because that's, I believe, the most important thing, man.
Yeah.
I believe the most important thing is a good ending.
Exactly.
What's it called in Arabic?
What?
What's a good ending called in Arabic?
I don't know.
I don't know what it
Khatam
is.
is ending, I'm guessing.
Khatam is ending, but
Yeah.
it's Husn al-Khatam, I think.
Husn al-Khatam.
Husn
I
al-Khatam.
would have said Khair Khatam. Just mix two words together.
No, but you
I know
ask it.
Muslims,
There's a
صح.
dua for that. There's a dua for that, for
Yeah.
having a good ending to life.
Yeah,
So yeah, I believe genuinely, fight's not over until you're
Mm.
there in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah hands you that book in your right hand.
Mm.
Hope
Inshallah.
no one asks you on that day, are you a man? It's like that. Yeah, because like
Yeah.
What about you, Ali?
That's interesting. That just reminded me of what Billy Dib told us on the episode about like how you overcome calamities or how you deal with them, because it's inevitable, like losing, you know, calamities in general, like having problems and stuff. And even the idea of thinking like if I'm a man or not now, like I try to think of like people in this world like who I would consider like a man, like let's just say Khabib, my dad, and all these people. But it's like they have flaws, they sin as well, they make mistakes. So like even if I am at my dad's age, and I would say like my 25-year-old self will say he's a man, but then I still have flaws. So it's like I still have things to work on. So you should, I think, maybe keep asking yourself, like, because it might change over time, like what you consider, you know, what it takes to be a man, and then you ask yourself, are you doing this and that? So I think it develops over time.
Yeah, and I
And
think
it's just ongoing.
yeah,
Like it's never ending.
and I think having this conversation is nice as well. You know,
Yeah.
because like I don't know about you guys, but we weren't even trying to do research or something like this for this conversation. Like it wasn't easy. Like nothing was sticking, and I guess it's one of those things where it comes down to like previous experiences and all of that kind of stuff. It comes within, you know, and not many people are having this conversation around the whole thing with men and all that kind of stuff. You know, so hopefully, like it'd be nice if I wasn't on the podcast and I seen a podcast out there have this type of conversation, you know, and you have that self-reflection, because Wallah, we gave a lot of nice tips, you know, some that I didn't even expect you guys to have, you know.
I had some conversation with some dads about this before. No, just saying, because people are older, they have a different life scenario. But it's more about like it's good for people to even start thinking, ask their older brother who's older than them, ask their mates, ask their dads, and it's like you kind of have to have a blueprint because it's technically who you want to be, and if you don't know who you want to be, how can you become it? Because like, okay, I want to be an honest person. Every single person is gonna be like, yeah, I want to be honest. No one's gonna say, yeah, I want to be a liar.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a blueprint, if you don't even think about it, you're not going to become that person. Because it's like me, I haven't developed that because it's never been on the top of my mind. It's like, okay, so, you know, so have this conversation because we all want different things. Like, for example, you before when you talk about physical strength, someone might say, hey, I want to have people talk about like a masculine stature. I don't want to be the skinny guy. Like, okay, I want to work on gym. I want to learn how to fight. I want to do something else. I want to get, you know. So it's 100%. A very good thing to look into, man.
It's a great way to end the podcast, my friend.
It's our job.
Also, don't forget, if you lied to someone today, make sure you give them a call and tell them that you lied. Don't forget, it's not a bad thing to admit you're wrong. And, you know, you're wrong for not subscribing to the channel. So
you're not a man if you don't subscribe.
The real man subscribes.
Yeah.
Chang.
3-0.
All you see is all these girls.
We lose 300 subs.
You're a woman if you subscribe as well.
100.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Thank you very much for enjoying the video. I made their mind up for them, but thank you very much. Inshallah, I'll see you soon.